Hey, second graders. Today we are going to be learning about some economic skills. What is that, you might ask? Well, let's find out. All right, so let's dive into economic skills. What are economic choices? Those are some of the skills involved in needing to make good choices. Economic choices are skills that relate to the economy and your spending. As you get older, and especially as you become an adult, these will be very, very important. And the reason for that is they help us explain what is the best choice and why financially. Financially means concerning your money and your well being. So, some examples of economic choices are needs versus wants, pros and cons, short term versus long term, trade offs, and opportunity cost. So that's a lot of new words. We're going to spend some time diving into those and really elaborating on what those are with some examples. So, what are needs versus wants? Let me turn on my pointer here. So, we are going to set goals when we want to save for something that we want or need. So, set goals. You probably do that pretty often. I know I do. So, a need is something we need to survive or be successful. So, it usually involves our well being in some capacity, in some form. A want is something that will make us happy, but we don't need to survive. So that could be the newest Nintendo Switch, that could be a new game, that could be a new car, could be a used car, whatever, something that you want. So let's go over some examples and we're going to decide if these are needs or wants. All right, so first, Mr. Bryce is saving for college because he wants to be a teacher. This one's a little tricky because of the word want, but saving for college to become a teacher, do we need that to survive or be successful? Don't necessarily need it to survive, but it does help with success. So that one is kind of straddling the line. I would say it is a little bit more of a want, right? Because he wants to be a teacher. All right, so next, Andrew wants the newest toy to play with his friends. So if he wants to play with his friends and wants the newest toy, that is definitely a want. He doesn't need that to survive, right? Next, the family needs a new car to fit their whole family. They are saving for a minivan. So, keywords really help when we're trying to identify needs or wants. Need, they need a new car to fit their whole family, right? They can't fit people in seats that don't exist, right? You can't fit 6 people in a 4-person car legally. You could try it, but it would be illegal. Next, we have Jenny needs to move to a new town for school, so she is saving money for moving costs. She needs to move to a new town for school. So that is relating to her success, right? It's something that she needs to do to move forward in her life. So I would say that is a need. She needs that. So, what is something that you have set a goal for? Is it something you need or want? And it doesn't have to be a toy or something you can buy. It can be anything. So I want you to just take a second and think of a goal that you have set for yourself or that you may want to set for yourself, and if it's something that you need or want. Pause the video if you need a moment to think about it. But we are going to move on. So, why do we need to know pros and cons? You may have heard this term before, but we're going to break it down just so we know what it means. Often we need to think of pros and cons, or positive and negatives of either decision. This will help us understand the big picture. So if we understand what will happen with either decision that we make, then we can understand the big picture. It will help us make the best decision possible. Okay? So some examples of this might be, for example, Mr. Bryce wants to buy some coffee for $4, but at this store it costs $8. Should he go to another store or buy it here? Right? That's a fair question to ask yourself. But what if I don't have time to run to another store? Why would you say your response? So when we're thinking of pros and cons, these are the types of questions that we can ask ourselves. Should I do this? What if I am running low on time? What if I need to get to class? What if I really want to make my mom happy? Right? There's different questions we can ask ourselves that will help us make the best decision. Our next example is Denzel really wants a new video game. He saw it on sale a couple months ago for $30, but now it is $60. Should he wait for another sale or buy it now? Let's wait for that to disappear. Why or why not? So think about it. Should he wait for another sale or buy it now? Why? Whoops. Why either way? That's what we want to ask ourselves, right? Because sometimes you may want to buy that for $60, but it's also double the price, which is pretty significant. So that's something to consider when you're making decisions, right? Pros are if you buy it now, you have what you want now. But the con is you're saving what you could save $30, or if it goes on sale again, you could save even more money if it's even lower than $30. So these are the kinds of questions we ask ourselves when considering pros and cons. All right, so next we are going to talk about short term versus long term. What does this mean? Well, let me tell you, children. First, short term is something that will happen immediately. So if I decide that I want to go for a run outside, that's a short-term benefit. It's going to happen immediately. Or if I decide I want to eat all my candy in my drawer, that's a short-term benefit. It's going to benefit me right then and there. A long-term is something that will happen over time. So that might be instead of eating all my candy that I wanted to eat right now, I save some of it and I maybe eat one piece a day. That would give me a long-term benefit of enjoying something over time rather than just for the short term. So these are always important. Sometimes we may lean towards either one, but it's an important thing to consider. So often we make decisions about money, we need to think of the short term versus the long term. Often we also need to think of pros and cons or positive and negatives of either decision. So when we think about short term versus long term, let's look at this example. I could buy a pack of gum for $3 today and spend all of my money, or I could save my money to buy new shoes for $30 that I wanted in a couple months. Okay? So again, short term, I could buy a pack of gum today. That would be the short term, right? Long term, I could save my money and buy new shoes for $30. Right? So rather than buying candy that I want today, I could buy something that maybe will last longer, like new shoes for $30. So sometimes it's about saving your money for what you want that will last you longer. Next, we have a trade-off. So this is a little bit more complicated. We're going to break it down so you guys totally understand it. So a trade-off is losing something to gain something else. So it involves a new option, a benefit, and an opportunity cost. Okay, so a trade-off. For example, I am going to break that down in a moment, but for opportunity cost, it is the cost or loss of what we lose in a trade-off. So those are a lot of words. Let's break it down. First, option. I want to get the new pencil my sister has, right? It's super cool. And it's mechanical and colorful. We'll throw that in there, right? So that's a benefit. Maybe my friends will also think it's really cool if I show it to them. However, the opportunity cost is she is willing to trade it, but she wants me to do her chores for 2 weeks. That's a cost, right? It's costing me what? It's going to cost me, if I do her chores for 2 weeks, I won't have as much time to watch TV after school. So if I want the pencil, this is what it's going to cost me. It's going to cost me chores for 2 weeks and not as much TV time. All right, guys, next for you, I have this video that's going to break it down even further. So let's take a look here at what is opportunity cost.
A gaming console or a new phone? New trainers or a big night out? Choosing between things you really want is hard. If you've created a budget to try and save some money, you'll have to decide what your needs and wants are. You only have so much cash, so you need to make choices. Opportunity cost is what you lose by choosing one alternative over another. For every opportunity you choose, there might be something you have to give up. Mario is torn. He needs a new phone pretty badly, but he's desperate to upgrade his gaming console too. Small problem, he's only got $900 and that won't buy both, so he has to choose. Mario could settle on a cheaper phone which costs $500 and walk away with both the phone and console. The opportunity cost is that he's ended up with a less fancy phone with fewer features. Or Mario could work an extra shift at his job so he has more cash for a newer phone. But there's an opportunity cost there as well. He'll have to spend money on public transport to and from work. His time is also a cost. If he didn't have to go to work, he'd have more free time to hang out with his mates or just sleep. There are other factors to consider too. Maybe Mario needs a better phone for work, or he could be driven by emotion. He wants to keep up with his mates. My 5 cents is, it's easy to forget about opportunity cost because you can't really see it, but it's a handy tool to help you to stick to your budget and decide how to spend your precious dollars.
So that was the video on opportunity cost. I think it does a really great job of putting it in perspective, why it's important that we consider what it's going to cost us to get what we want. It'll help you plan as you get older for the future. All right, guys, that was all I had for you today. I hope that you learned a lot. Check out those worksheets. They're going to really help solidify what we're thinking about. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will see y'all later. Bye.